Oh, welcome. This has been way too long. So, I don't want to beat around the bush. I just want to get right into this because I got some magic cards. Specifically, Doctor Who magic cards. And I am so excited to show this to everybody. So, and this isn't the only deck. If you saw the thumbnail on YouTube,
But I liked that bush. Sad face.
well, I'm gonna beat around that bush anyway. No, wait, I'm gonna stop beating around the bush. Anyway, I just want to crack into some boxes. So, let's do it. Let's go. All right. Hopefully my microphone audio's doing all right. I'm kind of monitoring it. Hopefully it's not terrible. Just let me know if my audio is stupid. Goodness gracious.
You sound fine.
Oh, thank you. Alright. How the heck do I get into this? Do I go through the bottom or do I go through the top? I'm going to go through the top. Oh. Wow. Get some of that ASMR going in there. Aha!
Vertix struggles to overcome the box.
The box is a struggle. Oh, okay. I feel like this should be easier. Alright, well, that's that. Alright, what do we got here? We got a little black envelope. I am now curious what is in the little black envelope. Ooh. A collector booster sample pack. Sealed product, not for resale. Alright. And then it looks like some special plane chase cards. Okay. Now, I know that the Doctor Who version of this game plays differently than your regular Magic. So, well, and it's nice to give you a little deck box. Oh, and it's got the Doctor and Rose on it. And, oh, wow. They really went all out with this. It's been a really long time since I've actually gotten a Doctor Who's, well, any Magic the Gathering set, to be honest. So this is really nice. Obviously this isn't even a card. This is just a foil picture of the card. That's interesting. Okay, well, looks like there's a deck in here. Ooh, what's this? Is this a life counter? It's a Doctor Who life counter. Let me get it in frame here. There we go. So, it's a life counter. Spin down life counter with David Tennant on it. That's really cool. Oh, and there's more. Oh, that's right, because when you play Commander, you actually start with 40 life, and you spin down. So I guess once you get down to 21, then you flip it over, and now you're at 20, and then you spin down more until you're all the way down to, well, 1, and then assuming you get hit again, that's 0. That's really cool, though. That's awesome. I love it. Let's see here. Obviously, the deck, and right on the top of the deck, if I can get the light to not shine right on it, that is the 10th Doctor. A legendary creature. A Time Lord Doctor, as it says. So his features, Alonze, Whenever you attack, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card. Put 3 counters on it. If it doesn't have suspend, it gains suspend, whatever suspend is. I don't know what suspend is, but we'll find out. And then his other feature is timey-wimey. Pay 7, time travel 3 times, whatever time traveling is. Again, we'll read the rules to find out. Activate only as a sorcery, so you can only activate it on your turn during a normal main phase. For each suspended card you own, each permanent you control with a time counter on it, you may add or remove a time counter, then do it 2 more times. So time counters, I'm guessing, are these little cardboard things. Well, I mean, these got Magic the Gathering symbols on them, and then we have some things with Titus symbols on them. So that's interesting. And also, these look like they pop out. And we got a pop out thing of Rose and 10, and then obviously this little special thing here, which in and of itself is really nice. It's good sturdy cardboard. So anyway, I will crack into these and these in just a moment. What I'm interested in is the rules. So, how do we play Doctor Who Magic the Gathering? So, playing the deck. Time may be a wibbly-wobbly ball of stuff, but this deck harnesses it by manipulating the flow of time itself. The deck is full of cards with suspend, vanishing, and other abilities that naturally accrue time counters. So you'll find yourself wanting to speed things up or slow things down. And that's where time travel comes in. This ability lets you add or remove time counters from all your cards. Keep your vanishing cards around for a turn longer, and suspended ones will show up a turn quicker. 10th Doctor lets you suspend cards that don't already have it, and then speed them up, this time with his time travel ability. Meanwhile, Rose Tyler grows more powerful as the flow of time is altered, eventually becoming the Bad Wolf. The key is to this whole strategy is making sure you have ways to get time counters on cards early in the game, so you can look for a suspended card in your opening hand if you can, and remember that it's much cheaper to suspend a card than it is to cast it. When in doubt, just delay and try to stay alive. Time is on your side. Interesting. So Commander rules, if you're not already familiar with Magic the Gathering and how Commander works. So every Commander game is a freewheeling back and forth battle in which alliances are formed, friends are betrayed, and grudges are repaid with a vengeance. In the end, only one player will be left standing until the next game begins, of course. So it's meant to be multiplayer. You can 1v1, but it's best if you have multiple people playing, more than 2 if possible. Commander is a free-for-all multiplayer game that uses these additional rules. You start with 40 life. Commander starts the game in the command zone, or where in the battle, on the battlefield. Although command zone's actually like a separate part of the battlefield, but anyway. Your commander starts the game in the command zone. You can cast your commander from the command zone. The commander tax makes it cost 2 more for each time you previously cast it from the command zone. So, in other words, like if it would go into the graveyard, instead it just goes through the command zone. So you can always cast it no matter what. You don't have to wait for it to come out of your deck. It's there. You can use it. if your commander would be put into your hand or library from anywhere, you may choose to put it into the command zone instead. If your commander would be put into the graveyard or exile, it goes there as normal. The next time state-based actions are performed, if your commander is still in that zone, you may put it back into the command zone. So, yeah, so if it gets exiled or something, or graveyarded, it's got to wait at least a turn before it can come back. If your commander deals 21 or more combat damage to any one player throughout the game, that player loses. Now that's interesting. Didn't know that little bit of interesting stuff. Anyway, all right, plane chase. Okay, so that's these super fancy big cards. Plane chase is a Magic format where the battle moves across time and space. Before the game begins, shuffle the oversized plane chase cards together into a planar deck. The first player flips the top card of the planar deck face up, and the battle begins on that plane. During each player's turn, that player may roll the planar die. If the planeswalk symbol is rolled, they flip the top card of the planar deck face up, replacing the current plane. If the chaos symbol is rolled, chaos ensues. Look at the active plane's chaos ability to see what happens. Players roll additional times, but each roll costs one more mana than they paid for that turn for the previous roll. Visit wizards.com/format/planechase to learn more. Alright. Oh, that's interesting. Alright. Oh, and some more information about our commanders. Now, usually in Commander, you only have one commander, but in Doctor Who, the Doctor always has a companion, sometimes more companions, but that's the thing about the Doctor, is that he rarely travels alone. So this deck is about the 10th Doctor and Rose Tyler. So the 10th Doctor is energetic, charismatic, and hungry for adventure. He delights in the unpredictable journeys through time and space, and he finds joy in the mundane and strange alike. Despite his cheerful demeanor, the 10th Doctor still harbors many regrets for his actions in the Time War. The burden of his guilt weighs heavily on him, along with the deep loneliness from being in the last of the Time Lords. The 10th Doctor shows many contrasts. He is kind yet unforgiving. At times he offers mercy to his bitterest enemies, but at others he displays a fiery, righteous fury by punishing those who commit horrific acts. Despite his flaws, he still strives to make the universe a better place, defend those in peril, protect humanity, and stop many villains that he encounters on his travels. So, of course, that's also my favorite Doctor. Interestingly enough, my first episode of Doctor Who I ever watched was Blink, the first episode with the Weeping Angels, and that's a whole nother bag of worms. So, or planet full of weeping angels, depending on who you're talking to. Anyway, Rose Tyler, the companion, a shop assistant thrown into incredible adventures. Rose Tyler is a resourceful, brave, and kind-hearted companion to the 9th and 10th Doctors. Even in the face of terrifying alien threats, Rose is quick to act, jumping into the fray even when her safety is at risk. She is deeply compassionate and never hesitates to call out the cruelties she witnesses or question the Doctor in his darkest moments. Rose seeks to understand even the most dangerous of enemies and offers forgiveness for those that have done wrong. She was forever changed by her adventures in the TARDIS, and afterwards continued her own adventures while stranded in a different universe. So if you never watched any of the 9th or 10th Doctors, or anything before Matt Smith, That's pretty much a recap of everything that happened in those few seasons. So yeah, and it also talks about the magic colors. White, blue, black, red, and green, what they usually mean, and why are the 10th Doctor and Rose Tyler blue, red, white? Blue and red define the 10th Doctor, a person of great intelligence and quick humor, as well as a fiery passion, emotion, and drive for action. Rose Tyler's white alignment stems from her altruism and willingness to risk herself in the face of danger. So that's why blue, red, white. I normally play either red, white, red, white, green, usually. That's usually my play style. Sorry, I'm getting jammed up here. I'm actually monitoring what's going on in here. So it's a slight delay, and it's messing up my speech. Anyway, but yeah, I usually don't play blue a lot because it's a little sometimes above my head, but it's the 10th Doctor. Why not? I love Tennant. I love Rose Tyler. I love them all. So, yeah. Let's see here. That's all of these. I'm just checking. Is there anything that I'm missing? I guess I'm gonna have to get some planar dice because apparently I'm supposed to play with planar dice if I'm going to play Flame Chase, and doesn't come with any planar dice. Oh well. But yeah, let's crack open in some of these. I'm actually interested in these here, these big old cards. Flame Chase. So let's take a look. Alright, well that didn't make it in the wastebasket, but anyway. So the first card that shows up right at the top of the deck when I open it is one of my favorite places, the Lux Foundation Library, which I remember this episode was also one of Stephen Moffat's first episodes that he actually wrote for before he took over the show after Tennant left. But anyway, Russell T Davies was the head writer for most of 9 and 10, and then Moffat wrote a couple episodes, including Blink and the episode that this one takes place in. I forget the name of the episode offhand, but there's some face-stealing stuff going on at this library that I remember. So, at the library, looks like the text here says players have no maximum hand size. Normally it's 7. And whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. That's really cool. And then if you land on chaos on your planar dice, whenever a chaos ensues, put a shadow counter on a target creature. Creature with a shadow can block. A creature with shadow can block or be blocked only by creatures with a shadow. Okay, so that actually reminds me of what happened in this episode. There's kind of like this shift in reality where I think there's like people like on another side of this planar shift, and I forget the whole episode. I'm gonna have to rewatch these because it's been so long since I've watched these old Doctor Who's. But I remember really liking it because there's like one like alternate reality like had all these people trapped, and the Doctor was trying to figure all of this out and try to bring people back. But I forget if he actually did it. And also, I think there was like this fear that Rose and I think some other people that they might have been with, I forget. Yeah. Anyway, enough of that. Let's move on to the next one. Lake Silencio. Okay. Now, Lake Silencio, this is from the 11th Doctor, Matt Smith. And because the big thing said over and over and over was silence will fall. So that was a recurring theme. So this is this part of the world is considered a still point in time. All spells have split second, so as long as a spell with split second is on the stack, players can't cast spells or activate abilities that aren't mana abilities. Now that's interesting. So, players can't cast spells or activate abilities that aren't mana abilities. Trying to think, because there's like a double negative here. There's a can't and an aren't in the wording of this. So, can't cast spells or activate abilities that aren't mana abilities. So in other words, if it costs mana, you can do it. But if it's something that doesn't cost mana to do, it can't be done, I guess. So that I guess that's what split second means. Then when chaos ensues, Lake Silencio deals 6 damage to target creature an opponent controls. If a creature...
Double audio for some reason.
Double audio? Oh. Thank you for letting me know. That might be... Alright, how about now? Does that sound better? Or how about this? Does this sound better? I'll give you some time to respond with that.
I think that's better.
Oh, okay. How's the chat lag, by the way?
The first one.
Oh, the first one. Okay. Let me, there. Oh, I think I know why. Alright, cool. Alright. Cool. I'll just not monitor my audio anymore. That's probably why it was sounding all echoey like that. Thank you for letting me know. Anyway, so Lake Silencio deals 6...
Just keep talking and I'll let you know.
Alright, thanks. So yeah, deal 6 damage to target creature and opponent controls. If a creature dealt damage this way would die this turn, it's exiled instead. So the other thing, for those who haven't watched Doctor Who, spoilers, this is where the Doctor dies. Or at least the 11th Doctor. Or at least he would die. Probably. Spoilers, the Doctor doesn't die. If you don't know, the Doctor regenerates every time he would take damage that would normally kill him. So he regenerates, and that's why there's so many Doctors. There's the 10th and 11th, and also a 12th, 13th, 14th, and now 15th coming out this Christmas in just a few days. We're going to have our first a true full adventure with the 15th Doctor, and I'm honestly excited. I've kind of shied away from Doctor Who after 11. I watched a little bit of 12 with Peter Capaldi, but I just never really kept watching. And I heard that Miss Whittaker, being the first female Doctor, nothing wrong with that, but I heard that the writing was bad. So and you can have a great actress but have bad writing, and that's also kind of what I think happened with Matt Smith, and I think that's also what had happened with Peter Capaldi. Great actors, bad writing just ruined it. So, but Russell T Davies is back. I watched the recent specials on Disney Plus, the new 3 specials. I thought they were fantastic. Granted, there was some groan-worthy moments for, a political message that I felt could have been handled with more tact. But other than that, I think it was still really good episodes. I liked seeing, David Tennant back. But it wasn't just David Tennant. It was also, seeing, I forget her actress's name, but seeing Donna Noble as back as a companion. That was a lot of fun. Seeing where she's come, how far she's gone in universe. It was nice. I really, really, really loved these specials. And I'm excited to see more of the 14th and the 15th Doctors. The 14th Doctor being David Tennant, which is, he's not the 10th Doctor. He's just got the 10th Doctor's face. He is the 14th Doctor, however. And the reason for that, still completely unknown. We just know that he's got that face, but we still call him the 14th because he's got all the memories of everything previous to the 13th Doctor. So he's not the 10th Doctor, he's the 14th. A slightly older looking 10th Doctor. That's how we're going to call it. Anyway, moving on. I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted. I just like Doctor Who. I like talking about it, so that's what I'm doing. Anyway, Amy's Home is the next plane we could possibly shift to. When you planeswalk to Amy's Home, and
sounds like BBC just really wanted Tennant back.
Yeah, well, they wanted what works. I think is the main thing, and Tennant was like everybody's favorite Doctor. So I think because of that, that's why he's back. And I think they wanted a way to keep him around a little more permanently. And I guess that's why his face showed up as the 14th. Which is interesting as back in... I'm going to get really nerdy now. There was a crossover movie with 10 and 11... as well as, was it Baker? Is it Baker? No, it wasn't Baker.
My favorite was Eccleston, personally. You never forget your first.
Yeah, well, Tennant was my first, but yeah, I watched all of Eccleston's, and I really appreciated his thing too, his run, because you couldn't have Tennant without Eccleston.
John Hurt is the War Doctor.
John Hurt was the War Doctor. That's correct. That was also in that movie that I'm referencing. But I want to... it was either Baker or the other one that wore the... it was the one that wore the celery stalk. Oh, no. Because he showed up in another special as well, now that I'm thinking about it. No, it was the Curator. So there was a character who called himself the Curator. It was essentially one of the previous Doctors. I want to say it was Tom Baker, but I might be wrong. But he showed up as a character
Baker
called the
appeared
Curator.
Briefly.
Okay. Yeah, I think he appeared as a character called the Curator, and he mentions directly to the 10th Doctor that when you regenerate, there's a possibility that you will have an old face. You might revert back to one of your older faces. So there's a lot of conjecture in the Whovian community, like, oh, is the Curator actually just a much older Doctor who's retired and just said, yeah, I'm I'm you, but with an older face, and much older than you, you being the Doctor. So, that's one of the reasons why it's like, okay, it's within canon that when the 13th Doctor regenerated into the 14th, that David Tennant's face was there. An older David Tennant was there. So that's like an in-universe explanation as to why that would happen. So I think that's interesting. And that also opens it up, like maybe Eccleston might come back. Although Eccleston has gone on record to say if Russell T Davies isn't running the show, he might come back. So wonder what happened there, but that's another discussion for another time. I am not a Doctor Who review channel. Don't at me. Anyway, moving back here, I want to get through these cards. So Amy's Home. When you planeswalk to Amy's Home at the beginning of your upkeep, you may exile a non-land from your hand with a number of time counters on it equal to its mana value. If it doesn't have suspend, it gains suspend. So
at VertixScribe.
You added me. So whenever chaos ensues, time travel for each suspended card you own and each permanent you control with a time counter on it, you may add or remove a time counter. So again, time counters, I still don't understand them. I'm gonna have to figure that out. They haven't, like, I read the little thing about it. I still don't understand. But anyway, moving forward. The Ood Sphere. Oh, the Ood. The wonderful Ood. So this plane has a feature called Song of the Ood. Non-creature spells have Convoke, which they explain is a player's creatures can help cast those spells. Each creature they tap while casting a non-creature spell pays for one colorless mana or one mana of that creature's color. That's interesting. And if chaos ensues, for each opponent, it's called Red Eye. For each opponent, goad up to one target creature that opponent controls. Until end of turn, those creatures can't become tapped unless they're being declared as attackers. And I believe goad, that essentially says you target a creature and that creature must attack that turn, if I remember correctly. So, of course, please consult the official rules of Magic the Gathering if I happen to be wrong. Anyway, Human Time Lord Meta Crisis. This is an entire plane. Is Donna becoming the Dr. Donna? So when you encounter, it's a phenomenon. It's not a plane. Okay, but so it's a part of the plane chase. So with this phenomenon, when you encounter Human Time Lord Meta Crisis, this card, each player chooses one or two creatures they control. Each player creates a token that's a copy of the first creature they choose, except it isn't legendary. Legendary means that only one of that card can exist at any given moment on the battlefield. If you cast another card that also calls it legendary, all it does is regenerate. It doesn't actually... you can't have two legendary creatures of the same person on the battlefield at the same time. Them's the rules. Unless they're not legendary, which is how that's when you make a copy of a card, but it's not legendary. So anyway, then each player who chose a second creature puts a number of +1/+1 counters on the token that they created equal to the power of the second creature they chose. So essentially, this phenomenon that happened in the show of Doctor Who, specifically when Donna Noble got caught up in the 10th Doctor's regeneration cycle. What happened was she got imbued with all of the knowledge of the Doctor, and that when Time Lords regenerate, they gain an immense amount of strength. So it totally makes sense that you would add a number of +1/+1 creatures, +1/+1 tokens. So it says equal to the power of the second creature. So equal to, power, meaning the first number in the lower right hand corner of their card. They have power and toughness. So power is how much attack, toughness is how much defense. So it makes sense that they would double in power, essentially, because that's what happens with the Doctor. Whenever he regenerates, he gets a surge of strength, and the first episode with David Tennant actually showed that when Eccleston regenerated into the 10th Doctor, David Tennant. They had like this big sword fight, and the Doctor was like super powerful, super strong, like stronger than usual. So that's all within universe. That totally makes sense. That Donna also probably got that power boost when she became the Doctor Donna. Spoilers: she couldn't keep all of that. She couldn't keep all of that knowledge, and as a result, the Doctor had to lock away her memories. And if she ever knew anything about aliens or the Doctor or time travel or anything like that, if she even got so much of a hint of that, she could potentially relapse, and her brain would literally overheat and kill her. And in the new Doctor Who specials, they resolve that, and I don't want to spoil that. So if you haven't seen the specials, find out how they resolve it. It's really cool. Anyway, moving on. So Bad Wolf Bay. At the beginning of combat on your turn, exile up to one target creature, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. So I guess just take something out for a little bit and then it comes back. When chaos ensues, cards can't enter the battlefield from exile this turn, then planeswalk. So, so enter the battlefield from exile. So when they're gone, they're gone. Or at least they're exiled, they're exiled. So that's interesting. Since I'm on a kick about talking about what these scenes are about, Bad Wolf Bay, it happens to be where the Doctor and Rose Tyler got split up into alternate universes. It was the nexus point between two universes, and ultimately had to be closed. But it was a place where, if the conditions were right, you could pass through or at least communicate through this nexus between universes. Exile is a perfect word for what happened with Rose Tyler in that alternate universe. Bittersweet ending. Don't want to spoil it too much if you haven't seen it, but it's very important in the lore of Doctor Who and Rose Tyler. Anyway, moving on. The Two Streams Facility. This feels like an 11 thing. This looks familiar, but I totally forget what this episode was about. I'm sorry. This takes place in Apalapucha. Whenever you planeswalk to Two Streams Facility at the beginning of the first upkeep of the game, Each player chooses green anchor or red waterfall. Each player who chose green anchor may play an additional land during each of their turns. Creatures controlled by players who chose red waterfall get +2/+0 and to have haste. So you can choose to have additional lands, or you can choose to have more powerful creatures.
You have betrayed me.
Well, I'm sorry. If you happen to know more about this episode, I'd be glad to hear it, but I honestly don't remember. So when chaos ensues, each player who last chose green anchor chooses red waterfall and vice versa. So I feel like this was an 11 episode that I may have skipped. It's either that or this was like 12 or 13, and I have no idea what any of them did. But anyway.
I don't recognize this at all.
Yeah.
I'm just ribbing.
Okay, fine. But, yeah, this feels familiar, but I don't quite remember it, or it was probably just not a really rememberable episode. But who knows? Maybe I'll go back through and rewatch 11 and maybe go through 12 and 13, see how I like them. It's probably not going to like them, but I'm going to try. Maybe. Anyway, Prime Minister's Cabinet Room. At the beginning of combat on your turn, up to one target creature you control becomes a copy of target creature an opponent controls. Wait. One target creature. Okay, beginning of combat on your turn, up to one target creature you control becomes a copy of the target creature that an opponent controls. Why does that sound familiar? Oh, was it those weird aliens that somehow took over Britain? And I think they I think they replaced the prime minister or something. It was those weird fat aliens or something. I forget the name of them, but I remember like they could. I think they ate people, if I remember correctly. I think they ate people, but they would copy people like by wearing their skin or something. I remember that they would open their heads by drawing a line across their forehead, and then they would be able to exit their skin suit or something. I don't know if that's what this is actually referencing, but that's like the thing that comes to mind when I think about the Prime Minister's cabinet. Anyway, will of the council. Whenever chaos ensues, starting with you, each player votes for a creature you don't control. Exile each creature with the most votes or tied for the most votes. That's interesting. That would certainly mix things up a bit. All right, and I got a few more here. New York.
Oh man, that was a Ninth Doctor plot.
That wasn't.
Good stuff.
Yeah, that was a Ninth Doctor plot. That's correct. And that episode really stood out to me, mostly because of just the special effects they did with it's cheap special effects, but the whole thing's cheap special effects. That's what makes it fun. But I just remember the drawing the line across the forehead, and then there's this big alien creature that eats people. So that was interesting. Anyway, New York on New Earth. At the beginning of combat, your turn on your turn, At the beginning of combat on your turn until end of turn, non-creature artifacts you control become 3/3 vehicles in addition to their other types and gain flying, haste, and crew 1. Wait, so non-creature artifacts. Okay, so you could just any artifact that's not a creature, you just turn into a vehicle and ride it and fly. Vehicles haven't been around since, what was it, Kaladesh, I think, if I remember correctly. Kaladesh is when I remember in Magic the Gathering. This was years ago. I remember during the Kaladesh arc, I guess. That's when I remember learning how to do vehicles. So that's interesting.
I'm randomly remembering their species was called Raxasauricophalopatorian.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Bot gonna butcher that.
About like that. She was close, I think, but that's why BBC actors get paid the big bucks and I don't, because I don't think I could say Raxasauricophalopatorian. I'm sure if I practiced it enough, I could probably get there, but I'm not there yet. Let's see here. Whenever chaos ensues, create a treasure token and a 2/2 white alien creature token. It just happens.
That was pretty close yet.
Okay. Raxasauricophalopatorian. I just kind of... I'm not going to say that again. Pompeii! Oh my god! Oh, that's perfect. Perfect last card here. Good old Pompeii. When that was Donna and the Doctor, if I remember. Donna and Ten, I think, were the ones that visited Pompeii, if I remember. But anyway, when you planeswalk to Pompeii and at the beginning of your upkeep, put an eruption counter on it. Whenever you roll a blank on the planar die, which again I don't have a planar die to show you, I wish I did. Scry 2, which just means look at the top 2 cards of your library. Then put an eruption counter on Pompeii. Okay, so you just put an eruption counter on it. What does that mean, though? When chaos ensues, Pompeii deals damage to each creature and each player equal to the number of eruption counters on Pompeii. Okay, so if you roll the planar die and chaos ensues, then each player sacrifices a land, then planeswalk. Planeswalk just means you're no longer on Pompeii, you move somewhere else. That's interesting. I can imagine that makes for some very interesting gameplay. That is, if I had planar dice, which I guess I'm going to have to go and look up and buy now. Thanks, Wizards of the Coast. Thanks, Hasbro. You give me this really cool thing and then don't give me all the stuff for it and make me buy more stuff. Anyway. Sorry. Just getting a little heated. Alright, so we went over the life counter. I'll come back to this. I guess this will be the last thing I do with this deck, is to open up whatever this special card is that I have no idea is completely sealed. We'll leave that for later. We've gone through the plane chase cards. Let's look at this ginormous commander deck. Let's crack this puppy open here. There we go. You'd think they'd make it easier with the little band they have in here. Really? Really glad that they put this, like, shitty card in here so I can scratch it all to hell. And of course, I don't... Oh, I should have gotten some dragon shields. Oh well. I'll, later I'm probably going to be putting all of these into, protective sleeves. Jesus Christ, man. There we go. Alright. Here we go. The value of these cards have now significantly dropped in price. So, just going to put these directly into the deck box as I look at them. So here is our. Oh wait. Oh, they give me multiples. Oh, this one's got like some. This one's got some thickness to it. This one's like real nice cardboard. This is your commander token, I guess. It's a nice holographic commander token. So that's really nice. Anyway, I did read his stuff earlier. He's a 3/5, as you can see. So some really good toughness and decent amount of power to him. And
Dro's a full-on Magic streamer now.
maybe, I don't know. If it gets views, it gets views. But we'll see. Anyway, yeah, 3/5. This is a really nice card. I am going to be like super careful with these, and when I get a chance, I'm going to start putting these into protective sleeves. Probably should have bought them earlier, but anyway, this is regular thickness Magic card, and definitely has the holofoil going on with it. So yeah, that is the 10th Doctor there. So let's take a look at Rose Tyler. Now, Rose Tyler, being a legendary human creature, she's can cost 1 white and 1 additional mana. Rose Tyler gets +1/+1 for each time counter on her, and her feature Bad Wolf. Whenever Rose Tyler attacks, put a time counter on it for each suspended card you own and each other permanent you control with a time counter on it. She's also a Doctor's Companion, which means you can have 2 commanders if the other is the Doctor. So as long as the Doctor's on the field, she's also a commander. Now, she can be a commander on her own because she's a legendary creature. So I guess she also stays in the command zone. I'm going to have to double check the rules on Doctor Who commander stuff. But anyway. Here's another favorite character of mine. Wilfred Mott. Wilf. Legendary human soldier. Look to the stars. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a time counter on Wilfred Mott. Then look up the top X cards of your library, where X is the number of time counters on Wilfred Mott. You may put a non-land permanent card, the mana of 3 value or less, from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in random order. So this is more of like a blue ability, but they make him white. That's interesting. White meaning white mana, not the color of his skin. Anyway, I mean, he's British. Come on. But yeah, that's interesting. And he's a 2/4 for 4. So he's got some moxie. Interesting. All right. I'll go ahead and put him back in here. All right. Here's an instant for 1 white +1. Everybody lives. All creatures gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. Players gain hexproof until end of turn. Players can't lose life this turn, and players can't lose the game or win the game this turn. Everybody lives, Rose, just this once. Everybody lives, as said by the 9th Doctor. So that was specifically referencing, by the way, if you see the picture, that's referencing the Are You My Mummy gas mask episode where it's like sentient gas masks take over war-torn England. So that was also the one episode that my wife really really didn't like at all, but at the end, though, it's like everybody lived, so it's a good, happy ending. But the watching a gas mask grow out of someone's face was like really scary. So, all right. Let's see here. Ooh, this one's got a lot of mana cost. Really high mana cost. 3 white plus 7. Everything comes to dusk, and it looks like Whitaker just totally owning a whole bunch of Daleks on this picture. That's 13th Doctor right there. Cast as a sorcery, Convoke. Your creatures can help cast the spell. For each creature you tap while casting the spell pays 1 for 1 or 1 mana of that color's creature. So in other words, you can tap creatures for the cost to cast the spell. So that's what Convoke does. Exile all creatures except those that share a creature type with a creature that convoked the spell. All artifacts and all enchantments. Convoke the spell, all artifacts and all enchantments. So essentially, like, if you're going up against somebody that's got a bunch of Daleks in their deck, and all you've got are like humans and Oods and Doctors, Time Lords and whatnot, if they helped cast the spell, then they live, and everything else that isn't that dies. That's interesting. That is I'm sure is a trump card of sorts. All right. Oh, with the master, 4 knocks. He will knock 4 times. 4 knocks. Enchantment. Vanishing 4. This enchantment enters the battlefield with 4 time counters on it at the beginning of your upkeep. Remove a time counter from it. When the last is removed, sacrifice it. So, at the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, draw a card. Oh, that's nice. That's more like a blue kind of thing than a white thing, but yeah. Wow. And I think I kind of also remember this scene as well. Rilfred, it's my honor. Be quick. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, this was when the Doctor has to fight the Master. And he will knock 4 times, referring to each beat of a Time Lord's 2 hearts. So that is neat. Ooh, the Pandorica. This was actually one of my favorite 11 arcs with the Pandorica. Legendary artifact. You may choose not to untap the Pandorica during your untap step. Why? If you pay 1 plus white and untap another target non-land permanent, then it phases out. It can't phase in for as long as the Pandorica remains tapped. That's why you don't have to untap it during your untap step if you don't want to. Can't phase in for as long as the Pandorica remains tapped. When the Pandorica becomes untapped or leaves the battlefield, that permanent phases in. Activate only as a sorcery. So, the Pandorica. Okay, so this is like my Doctor Who nerd out stream apparently. So, the Pandorica, if you don't know, is essentially a prison. That's spoilers. But it is something is inside the Pandorica. And it was originally meant to be a trap for the Doctor. But it's there's a little surprise as to who's actually in the Pandorica. So I'm gonna just leave it at that. That is when the 11th Doctor was palling around with Amy Pond and her husband Rory. So anyway, speaking of 11th Doctors, the Wedding of River Song. So draw 2 cards, so you may exile a non-land card from your hand with a number of time counters on it equal to its mana value. Then the target opponent does the same. Cards exiled this way don't have suspend. Cards exiled this way that don't have suspend gain suspend. Time travel. For each suspended card you own and each permanent you control with a time counter on it, you may add or remove a time counter. Okay, well, so Wilfred had time counters on it, I think. So, or not Wilfred. Well, yeah, Wilfred had some, and so did Fornox. So that's interesting. Ooh, Yadipose. These little guys, little blobs of fat. Adipose offspring. Emerge 5 plus 1 white. May cast a spell by sacrificing a creature and paying the emerge cost reduced by that creature's mana value. Okay. So you can cast this for 1 white plus 3, or you can cast it for 1 white plus 5 minus however much the mana value of a creature that you sacrificed is. So I'll go into why that happens the way it does. But when Adipose Offspring enters the battlefield, create a 2/2 white alien creature token. If Adipose Offspring emerge cost was paid, instead create X of those tokens, where X is the number of sacrificed creatures' toughness. So it's the second number down in the bottom right there. So that makes sense because adipose, these little guys, are actually made up of human fat. And, well, if you take too much human fat, well, you're going to kill the human that you made of it. And you're just making these little guys. These little guys made of fat. And that's what they are. They're little guys. And I guess they just turn into 2/2 creatures when you do that. So when this enters the battlefield, you create another one of these little dudes. But if you use the emerge cost, you can make more of these little dudes. So that's interesting. Making little dudes. So anyway, Astrid Peth. I do not know who this is. Let's see, my camera froze for a moment there. I don't know who she is. I have a feeling that she's probably something from 12th or 13th Doctor. I honestly don't remember or don't know who she is. When Astrid Peth enters the battlefield or attacks, create a food token. Brand New Sky. Whenever you sacrifice a clue or food, Astrid Peth explores. So exploring means you reveal the top card of your library, put that card into your hand if it's land, otherwise put a +1/+1 counter on this creature, then put the card back or put it in your then put the card back or put it in your graveyard. Yeah, so it's just like let's see here, put that card into your hand if it's a land. If it's not a land, you can either put it back in your library or just throw it away, put it in your graveyard, because you never know what you'll need from your graveyard, or if you just don't need that card. So that's interesting. And you just add a +1/+1 counter on here. So seeing that she's holding a piece of rebar like Cure Black on a very angry day, This seems like she's kind of a violent person. And probably only gets stronger, I assume. So interesting. That might be a fun card to play. All right, Crack in Time. Wow. So this is an Amy Pond reference. From the 11th Doctor. So enchantment, vanishing 3. So gets 3 time counters until it goes away. Crack in Time enters the battlefield at the beginning and at the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, exile target creature an opponent controls until Crack of Time leaves the battlefield. Ooh, okay. So this is essentially, it's kind of like an oblivion ring with a counter on with a time counter on it. So that's interesting. All right. And if you don't know what an Oblivion Ring is, that's a card that's been in Magic the Gathering for a while. It's pretty much just exile target creature until they're not exiled anymore for reasons. Okay. So here's a Saga card. Okay, so Saga cards, when you cast a Saga, you essentially add a lore counter. You go through as the Saga enters, and after your draw step, add a lore counter. So create a 1/1 white human noble creature with vanishing 3. So she's going to be gone by the end of this thing. Prevent all damage that would be dealt to this creature is what it has on it. And then next turn, add another lore counter. Create a 2/2 white horse creature token with doctors you control have horsemanship. They can't be blocked except by creatures with horsemanship. This is referencing the Girl in the Fireplace episode, where let's see here, that was Mickey and Rose Tyler, and I think it was the 10th Doctor. I want to say it was Mickey and Rose go together. They go on the space station with like this fireplace that goes to I want to say 18th century France, and 18th or 19th century France, or was it 17th century? Anyway, either way, it's one of those like the French aristocracy things. It was really interesting, and David Tennant rides a horse. It was great. So he gets a horse, 2/2 horse. Doctors you control have horsemanship. I love that line. Then whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player this turn, time travel. So that's time travel again. I think it's like remove suspend counters or remove time counters or something like that. Anyway, so yes, that's a wonderful episode in which the Doctor rides a horse in the time of the French aristocracy. So that was fun. Oh, Martha Jones, there she is. Oh, I love Martha. All right, so Martha Jones, the woman who walked the earth. When Martha Jones enters the battlefield, investigate. Create a clue token. It's an artifact with pay 2, sacrifice this artifact, draw a card. Whenever you sacrifice a clue, Martha Jones and up to one other target creature can't be blocked this turn. She's also a Doctor's companion, which means you can use her as a commander as long as the other commander is a Doctor. So, Martha Jones. All right. Love to see her in this deck. All right. Managing conversion. Oh, so this was again the face masks. Choose a target creature you control. The other creature becomes a copy of that creature until end of turn. Except it isn't legendary. Are you my mummy? Are you my mummy? Alright. Flesh duplicate. Ooh. Kind of remember this episode, but yeah, shapeshifter, you may have flesh duplicate enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except it has vanishing 3 if a creature doesn't have vanishing. Permanent with the vanishing 3 enters with 3 time counters on it. Beginning of your upkeep, remove a time counter from it. When it's last removed, sacrifice it. And it has a 0/0, which that's interesting. So flesh duplicate becomes a copy. Okay, so yeah, it has to copy something. Otherwise, if it doesn't copy it, it immediately dies because it's a 0/0. It can't really do anything on its own. It can't stay on the battlefield if its toughness is 0. So when it comes onto the battlefield, it has to become a copy of something. All right, the 11th hour. All right, so the 11th hour, it's a saga. Step 1, search your library for a doctor card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. So if you don't have a doctor, you're going to get a doctor. Create a food token, and create a food token and a 1/1 white human creature with doctor spells you cast 1 less to cast. So you're going to get an Amy Pond or something similar. Well, it's a 1/1 white human creature token, so it's baby Amy Pond is what you make there. Create a token that's a copy of that target creature, except it's legendary alien named Prisoner 0. And what does that mean? What does Prisoner 0 do? We don't know. Just create a token that's a copy of a target creature, so anything that's on the battlefield, I guess. And you create a copy of it, and now you have Prisoner 0. I guess it's just a way to say, hey, I like that card. I want a copy of it. Now it's a copy of it. It just happens to be named Prisoner 0. So, yeah. And remember when I talked about the Pandorica? That's not really related to the crack, but anyway, blah, 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 Prisoner 0, Pandorica, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, all of history, all at once. Time travel. For each suspended card you own and each permanent you control with a time counter on it, you may add or remove a time counter. Storm. When you cast a spell, copy it for each spell cast before it this turn. What? Wait, what? When you cast this spell, copy it for each spell cast before it this turn. Okay. So if you cast a bunch of... when they say cast a spell, they just mean play a card. So if you played a card this turn, then you copy this. Okay, when you cast this spell, copy it for each spell cast before it. So you can just keep time traveling over and over and over again if you like, so this is nice if you have, later game, you've got a bunch of stuff going on and you like laid multiple cards that turn and then you lay this, you can do a bunch of this time travel mechanic of adding or removing time counters. So that's interesting. So like those vanishing cards, for example, you want to like add more to them if you want them to not vanish as fast, I guess. Or remove them or remove a time counter if you want something to vanish faster. Like if your opponent's got something that you don't want them to do. Anyway, my girl Donna Noble, and I love that she's red too. I love that she's not white or blue. She's red. Oh, I love it. Fiery personality, of course. Legendary creature, Soul Bond. You may pair this creature with another unpaired creature. When either enters the battlefield, they remain paired for as long as you control both of them. Whenever Donna or a creature is paired with it is dealt damage, Donna deals that much damage back to the target opponent. Donna is ascending. Oh my gosh. And of course that line's only applicable to the Donna Noble is descending. That is a quote from the specials on Disney Plus. Again, I highly recommend you watch them if you haven't already. I liked them, even though I know plenty of people didn't. I don't care. I liked them. I had fun. So wow. So whenever Donna or anyone she pairs with, it doesn't matter who. It could be a doctor, it could be a creature, it could be anyone. Anything that Donna likes, if something happens to her or anything that she likes, she will deal that much damage to the target opponent. I love it. Now, it says target opponent. It doesn't say target creature or attack the creature that dealt damage. It's whenever a Donna or creature it's paired with is dealt damage, Donna deals that much damage to the target opponent. That means going right for the life counter of whoever dared to attack Donna or anyone she loves. I love that. I love that so much. That's beautiful. That is totally Donna. And and she's also a doctor's companion, so she can also be a commander as long as the doctor's there. She can be a commander along with the doctor, I should say. So that's awesome. I love it. Amy Pond, another doctor's companion. So partner with Rory Williams. When this creature enters the battlefield, target player may put Rory into their hand from their library, then shuffle. So whenever Amy Pond's in play, Rory's gonna come out with her from somewhere. That I love that, actually. I'm sure Rory's in there somewhere. Whenever Amy Pond deals damage to a player, choose a suspended card you own and remove that many time counters from it. Interesting. Doctor's Companion. Yeah, so we already know that. So she can... Let's see. Remove time counters. Choose a suspended card you own and remove that many time counters from it. Okay. Let's see here. Static Beauty. So this was the Vincent van Gogh episode. Exile the top 3 cards of your library. You may play those cards until end of turn. Put 4 time counters on each of those cards that has suspend. Suspend 4. Pay 1 fire to suspend 4, I guess. Trying to figure out how this card works. So you can suspend this card by paying an extra red, I guess. You can add 4 suspend counters on it. Exile the top 3 cards of your library. If you may play those cards until end of turn. Put 4 time counters on each of those cards that has suspend. I'm gonna have to really review the rules on suspend. Like, why would that be a good thing? But considering that they took all that time to do it, I'm sure it's probably useful. Here we go. The RMS Titanic. The spaceship. That happens to have an unfortunate name. Flying and trample 7-1. So this thing's got about as tough as the paper it's printed on. Flying trample. When RMS Titanic deals combat damage to a player, sacrifice it and create that many treasure tokens. Crew 3, tap any number of creatures you control. Oh, it is a vehicle, so it can't do anything on its own unless it has 3. So tap any number of creatures you control with a total power of 3 or more. Okay, so it's not somebody with enough strength or enough creatures that equal a total power of 3. This vehicle becomes an artifact creature until end of turn. So the thing about vehicles is they can't do crap without somebody to crew them. Otherwise, they're just there. It's just an artifact. It's just a thing. So if you can get someone to ride this thing, and the doctor, I think, was also at least 3 power. So take a doctor, put it on this thing, and ram it into somebody. It does 7 damage. But the fact that, well, I mean, you can't really target like artifacts directly unless you have a spell that targets artifacts. So, well, this is just cool. It's something that you can just ram into somebody for 7 damage. 7 damage with trample. So if somebody blocks it, whatever, it's still going through. I love it. All right. Now this is one of those weird little double cards. So usually you can either cast one or the other, or maybe even both if you have the correct mana cost to cast both. A Coward Killer. So Coward is red +1. Target creature can't block this turn and becomes a coward, in addition to its other types until end of turn. Then time travel. Or Killer, 2 red +2. Killer deals 3 damage to target creature and other creature that it shares a creature type with it. And each other creature that shares a creature type with it. So let's say, for example, I mean, this is obviously a Dalek here. This is what the Daleks look like when they're not in their little thing, the armor, mobile armor, if you want to call it that. Yeah, this is definitely Ninth Doctor. And Ninth Doctor going, yeah, I'm going to kill all the Daleks. And kill all of you. All of you dead. Dead Daleks. Daleks dead. Deal 3 damage to target creature and every other creature that shares the creature type with it. How much you want to bet that your average Dalek has a toughness of 3? How much you want to bet that that's what that is? And so if you do this, and target creature can't block, becomes a coward in addition to its other types. Or just deal 3 damage to it and everything like it. That is such a this is a very Doctor thing to do, actually. Because when the Doctor sets his mind to genociding something, he goes all the way. The Parting of Ways. Okay. So this is related to Rose Tyler becoming the Bad Wolf. Exile the top 5 cards of your library. For each non-land card exiled this way, put a number of time counters on that card equal to its mana cost. If it doesn't have suspend, it gains suspend. Okay. Time travel. Then time travel. For each opponent, destroy up to one target artifact that the player controls. For each opponent, destroy up to one target artifact that player controls. Okay, well that's interesting. I'm just assuming that this is just something that blows up other cards. So let's blow stuff up. Oh, speaking of the Ninth Doctor, here he is. Mr. Eccleston himself. The Ninth Doctor is he's a red-blue. Well, I think all the Doctors are red-blue, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, Time Lord has haste into the TARDIS. Whenever the Ninth Doctor becomes untapped during your untapped step, you get an additional upkeep step after this step. Fantastic. So he's a 2/4. Okay. So he's fast. He comes, as soon as he comes in the battlefield, you can start using him. And if he becomes untapped during your untapped step, you get an additional upkeep step after this step. So there's probably some other cards that play from upkeep that he can like double their abilities during upkeep. So I have a feeling that is where that comes into play. Let's see here. Sally Sparrow. Now that... Well, I see that there is a weeping angel behind her. I'm assuming that she gets got by an angel, I bet. I don't remember her name or who she's with, so I don't think she was with 11. So it's probably 12 or above. And cast creature spells as though they had flash, which means they can just, from your hand to the battlefield, no summoning sickness. And you can also cast them as an instant, which means you can play them at any time, not just during your turn during the main phase. Whenever one or more creatures you control leave battlefield, investigate, which just creates a clue token. This ability can only trigger once each turn. Okay. Interesting. Oh! Now I remember who Sally Sparrow is. This is actually from Blink. Okay, she's somebody that, she does get got, but she was there to try and get the TARDIS back somehow. I see she's holding the key to the TARDIS. So I forget if she actually does get got by the Weeping Angels or not. But I do remember, that was she's the character, one of the characters that are followed in that episode. Oh, here's a character that we haven't. I don't think she comes back after her episode. She was originally going to have her own spin-off, Jenny. Jenny, the generated anomaly, is essentially the Doctor's kid. Genetically is the Doctor. Also happens to be played by David Tennant's wife, which also happens to be the daughter of one of the other Doctors. I forget which Doctor. The one that wore the celery. Anyway, I forget his name now. All I know is that he wore celery on his lapel. Anyway, so legendary creature, Time Lord Soldier, 2/3 with double strike. Whenever Jenny deals combat damage to a player, it explores. So she gets looks at the top card. If it's a land, put it in the hand. If it's not a land, +1/+1 counter, and put the put that back in your pile or graveyard, whatever you want. So she can get more and more powerful every time she deals damage to a player.
David Tennant's wife IRL.
Yes, that's exactly it. David Tennant's wife in real life played Jenny. And that is such... I just really wish they did more with her. Maybe they'll bring her back from 14. I don't know. She's never come back in the series canon since that episode. And I think they were going to make a spin-off show, and they just never got around to it.
Peter Davison's Fifth Doctor.
That's it. That's it. That is Peter Davison. I forgot his name totally. Yes, that is exactly it. Yeah. Doctor Who's definitely big in that family for sure. Anyway. Oh, hey, here's our boy, Rory Williams. So we saw Amy Pond earlier, and partner with Amy Pond. So if Amy Pond is put in the battlefield, you find this boy, you put him in your hand, and then you can play him. Partner with Amy Pond, first strike with lifelink, 3/3. His ability, Last Centurion. When you cast this spell from anywhere other than exile it with 3 time counters on it. It gains Suspend, then Investigate. Poor Rory. So when you cast a spell from anywhere other than exile, he's got to put 3 time counters on him, and he's suspended. But whenever you time travel, you can remove time counters. So try to get this boy out as fast as you can. Whenever you do get Investigate, so you can draw a card, and I guess drawing cards helps you time travel faster. And also, hey, here's our other boy, the 11th Doctor, Matt Smith. So he's blue, white 1, Time Lord Doctor, 3/2. So weaker than the other Doctors. Interesting. So his ability, I am talking! Whenever the 11th Doctor deals combat damage to a player, you may exile a card from your hand with a number of time counters on it equal to its mana value. If it doesn't have Suspend, it gains Suspend.
Lag test.
Okay, yeah, let me know how that's going. It doesn't have Suspend, gains Suspend. Pay 2, target creature with power 3 or less can't be blocked this turn. Huh. So that's interesting. I'm not sure how he plays. I'm sure there's some YouTuber out there that understands this a lot more than I do and would probably be able to explain much better how you could play the 11th Doctor well. So, speaking of who we mentioned earlier, the War Doctor, aka Doctor 6.5, and John Hurt. I had to check back in the chat here. Yeah, here's the John Hurt Doctor. Whenever one or more other permanents phase out, and whenever one or more other cards are put into exile from anywhere, put 1 time counter on the War Doctor. Whenever the War Doctor attacks,
103 between send.
This is that bad. All right. Let me see if I restart the stream